Welcome to the Right Hand Roadmap, the podcast for seconds in command of founder-led companies. I'm your host, Megan Long, owner of Second First. In each episode, we show you the path to success on your journey as the number 2 leader in entrepreneurial companies. I am so happy you are here and so happy to introduce you to Cindy Dodd. Cindy is the co-founder and COO of Inc. 5000 company Pima.io, a high-scale B2B appointment setting firm. Guys, Cindy is a powerhouse. She was named one of the top 50 women of influence by Success Magazine, has been featured in Entrepreneur Magazine, CBS, Fox, and more, and is the co-host of the Takeover podcast with her husband and CEO Todd Dodd. In our Second First membership and masterminds, the most common issue that keeps coming up is lead gen and business development. So I am thrilled to have her share her expertise with you all in this value-packed conversation. Cindy, I am so happy that you are here today.
I'm so excited about this conversation. I have been looking forward to it. I know that your community is phenomenal, so I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. I mentioned in the intro that we recorded that in our membership and in our mastermind, the number one issue that keeps coming up is not just business development, but lead gen specifically. So I just think that there's going to be so much value in this conversation today, because honestly, show me a B2B company that has this nailed down or has this right, and I will give you $100.
It is a common problem for sure. So I'm glad we're having this chat.
Absolutely. Okay. So explain, like I'm 5, what is Pima or Pima.io, and how do you help entrepreneurial companies?
For sure. So we're basically business matchmakers without the dating. So we essentially connect businesses with their ideal customers. We're taking care of all the prospecting, of going out and finding those businesses, and then we connect them with our clients. What I love about what we do is we talk with hundreds of businesses and we narrow them down to the ones that are the best fit for our clients. So essentially, we're doing all of that on the back end with the ultimate goal of delivering perfect leads and great leads so that our clients can close them into new business.
That's the missing piece, because I think a lot of companies have been burned in the past by like SDR or appointment setters, right? And the fact that you qualify them and make sure that they actually fit that ideal client profile is something that is missing in a lot of other companies.
Absolutely. It's one of the industries where you have the most over promises and under delivery. So lead gen is notorious for that. I'm glad that we're changing the game at Pima.io.
Yes, absolutely. So from your experience, when it comes to this, either business development or lead gen specifically, what is the biggest mistake you see SMBs making?
For sure. I would say the biggest mistake is relying solely on referrals and word of mouth and not having predictable lead generation systems in place. So referrals are great. We all love a warm introduction. They are the absolute best leads that anybody could have. They come in warm, there's built-in trust. The sales or conversion is so much easier than a cold lead. So people love referrals, and I do too. The issue with referrals is that they are unreliable and unpredictable. Right? If you don't know where your next lead and client is going to come from, your business is at major, major risk. So I would say that's probably the biggest issue or the biggest problem I see small businesses make. It's not having either internal lead gen systems that they can turn on, turn up, turn down, or having the right partners to outsource it to.
From my own experience, so as a COO in the past, I think something that I also see is executives that are placed over a sales department without direct experience in sales or business development that now are struggling to hold a team accountable, or they don't quite know where to start or how to improve. What advice would you have for someone that finds themselves in that situation? I know that you just mentioned finding the right partners is definitely part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say if you don't personally have the skill, go out and find somebody that's an expert to bring them in, or take the time to learn the skill. And it doesn't necessarily have to mean that you are the best closer or the best appointment setter, but you know enough of the system to be able to convert, to train, and hold people accountable to certain KPIs and metrics. I think one of the worst things we could do is abdicate, right? And I think that's where a lot of people fall short, is that instead of delegating, they abdicate. So they're like, hey, bringing in experts, you handle it, you'll be good. But there's no accountability. You have no idea if this person is really doing a good job or not. So I think it's our responsibility as COOs or as owners, founders, to one, know enough to hold people accountable, have certain KPIs, or bring in experts that you trust that can help you with those KPIs and measurements to hold your team accountable.
Okay, I have two questions that came out of that. For someone working with an outsourced partner, what is the key to success there? Because I think that abdication piece, you hit the nail on the head, especially with like marketing companies, or I see this all the time where they think, oh, we just hired this expert. They should just be able to do it and understand our business and get it right. And then they're let down, or they're disappointed, or they don't see the results that they thought the investment would bring. So what's the key to that partnership working and actually getting an ROI from an outsourced partner?
So good. That's a great question. And I'm sure a lot of people have this top of mind. We speak to businesses day in and day out that have tried a lead gen or an outsourced partner, a sales partner, and they failed. I mean, it's like 90% of the businesses we talk to have been through this process. So it is not uncommon. I would say first is knowing how to vet, right? I always look at what is the previous track record of success. Anybody that I'm bringing on, whether it's a vendor or an employee or a partner, what is their previous track record of success? Can they visibly show me that they have achieved the results that I'm looking for them to achieve? So if they're saying they can help boost your close rates by 20 to 30%, visibly show me that you've done that for other companies and it's not just nice words that they're saying. Right? If you're looking at a lead gen partner, can they show you the sales meetings that they've generated with companies that are in the 500 to 1,000 employee headcount? Like, or are they just saying that they can? So I think looking for tangible proof is one area for sure. Like beyond just the trust, ask them for proof. And I think the second part to that is you have to know enough to hold people accountable. And it is hard. Of course, it comes with experience, with probably having gone through several marketing funnels or sales funnels, but take the time to know enough to hold somebody accountable. Are you looking at KPIs with your partners, say every 2 weeks or every month? Are you holding them accountable to the metrics that they say they're going to deliver? If they're not delivering it after 2 weeks or a month, are you having a conversation as to why are we not hitting these KPIs? And I think we work best with companies, and we've worked with over 1,000 companies. We work best with the ones that are involved in the process. So if we're mismatched in expectations, okay, why is that? How can we realign? And they're not abdicating to us as their lead gen partner, like, hey, you guys do it. You said you were going to deliver. They want to be involved in the process. So I'd say get involved as much as possible so you're essentially learning alongside your partner.
That's so
that was
good.
A lot of info. I hope I
No, I think it's perfect, and it's almost treating it like a team member,
Yes.
right? It's bringing them in to the company and bringing them into the team as if they were there within the walls of the organization.
Yes.
You bringing up KPIs too, I think the lagging indicators are the most obvious with sales, right? It's appointments set or deals won or proposals delivered, whatever that might be. What are some of the leading indicators that show that flywheel is turning and that the process is working?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think about it with the type of work that we do. We do outbound lead generation, and we're doing everything through like direct outreach. So leading indicators for us look like, okay, what is our open rate? What are our response rates? So we may not be getting, say, the leads just yet, but hey, our response rate is really good. That shows me that my audience is engaged. Maybe there's just areas of opportunity in kind of some of the messaging that I'm sending to get more yeses across the finish line. right? So looking at things like that, how is my audience responding? What are my open rates if I'm looking at, say, cold email or LinkedIn number of connections that I'm getting? So some of those factors that are not necessarily leads on the calendar just yet, but they're metrics that show us we're moving in the right direction.
What has been a learning experience or a moment of growth for you as a leader in your company working with clients?
I think about, and we touched on this a little earlier, right? The expectation versus reality. So, with our industry being so notorious for over-promising and under-delivering, it's so critical for us to be mindful of expectations. So, I think about expectation management is not just a sales department's role. Expectation management is client success as well. Because I just think about an experience where early on we would bring in clients, they would do, at least we thought we were delivering amazingly, but they had been burned by so many lead gen partners. So there was a mismatch in expectations versus delivery. And that was a learning opportunity for us to identify that expectation management isn't just a sales issue or responsibility. It has to be embedded throughout the client journey. So this looks like constantly setting and resetting expectations in the sales process, for sure, that's number one, but also in the client journey from onboarding to monthly check-ins to quarterly business reviews. And the more that we can set and reset expectations with clients, the better the long-term relationship just overall.
What's a piece that sometimes is missing on the client side for you that you have to advise them to put into place in order for you to be successful? Whether that's a great onboarding process or something that is really on the company side to deliver to make sure that a partner like you is successful.
That's a good question. Because we're focused on lead gen, so we're doing all the pipeline, all the prospecting and sending leads their way. The partners that we work best with are the ones that have a dialed in sales process. Because Megan, we could deliver like 100 amazing quality leads to one company that has the most dialed in sales process and they convert at 20, 30, 40%. And we could deliver the same 100 leads to another company that doesn't have their sales process dialed in. They're not tracking KPIs. They're not doing call reviews for their sales reps and they're closing out at 10%. They're not going to keep us on as a partner, right? So we're very ROI driven. I think we work best with those companies that either have a very dialed in sales process or they're open to learning with us as partners. So we do sales training and sales call reviews as like an add-on to our service. We don't charge for it, but we know how important it is in just having a successful partnership overall. So companies that are open to learning maybe a new way to sell that they weren't as familiar with before, especially when you're selling from outbound and where there isn't that built-in trust, it requires a different sales process. So those companies that either have their process already dialed in or ones that are open to building that sales process and understanding that it does take longer to get to ROI if we are building that sales process together.
I see that a lot with marketing firms or agencies as well. Companies will bring on an agency without an actual funnel in place or without, like you said, a process in place. So and you're just getting eyeballs at that point. You're not actually sending them into something that's going to bring in new business and have you see that ROI. So that is such a good point. We, in our community, Second First, we have a national membership of seconds in command or leaders in entrepreneurial businesses. So COOs, directors of operation, chief of staff, integrators. For them looking to grow or mature their business this year, what advice would you have for them?
I'll start off. Caveat is we're speaking to COOs. Anybody listening to this podcast, one is a high performer. They have their stuff together. COOs are like operational excellence, the systems, the processes. So I don't even have to go down that route. Like I know that you all have got it. So I think the area that I'll focus on, which I think is a bottleneck for many COOs and small businesses, and it's that lead and sales piece. One, it's either they don't have enough leads for that next level of growth. So they have enough leads for sustaining, right? Currently where they're at. So they don't have enough lead flow coming in for that next level of growth. Or second, the sales piece is they don't have a good conversion system. So maybe they have 10 leads coming in and they're only converting one. So there's just so much opportunity there. Or they just simply need to hire more salespeople to grow, right? So they've kind of just have been sitting comfortable or stagnant in that area. I've seen that those are the two biggest areas. So it's on the marketing and growth side, but mainly COOs are over that too, right? So how can you get more lead flow in if that is the bottleneck? Just increase the number of new meetings and new opportunities coming into your sales team. Or second, either hire more salespeople to go to that next level of growth or fix the conversions. Like as COOs, we have to have our eyes on how is my sales team converting? What is the bottleneck that is preventing them from converting more deals? How can we refine that? So I think those are the two biggest areas that is preventing a lot of small businesses from growing overall.
Mm-hmm. We, in an earlier episode, talked about funnel math, right? Just basic, what's your conversion rate from proposal to one, and then going all the way up the funnel. Because something else that I see quite a bit is the entrepreneur or the CEO. At the beginning of the year, they have annual planning and they set these revenue goals, but they're not based on actual data. So it becomes this wish that now the other leaders in the company have to try and work backwards from to engineer how to get there, while not necessarily having that rooted in anything that the sales team can actually deliver on. So how do you recommend going about creating a realistic revenue goal based on actual data?
Yes. I mean, people are ambitious, right? Like founders, owners, entrepreneurs, we want to do all the things. We're really ambitious. So how we do it, at least, and it's worked for us. I think there are so many ways that you can think about setting like revenue and sales targets. What we look at is three things. So one, we look at our best performing month in the previous year. What did we hit? What were the metrics that we hit, either on a sales side or revenue side? We look at our second best performing month. And then we look at our lowest performing month. And we try to identify what were we doing in those months, right? What changed? Maybe what was different. We can look at it quarterly as well, if that works better for your type of business. But in our highest performing month, we essentially set that as the low target for this year. So if we could hit that once, data shows we could hit that again. So that's like our absolute low target. And then from there, we'll set like an increment, of increase. Maybe it's like a 10% or 20% increase for our mid and our high targets. And those will be kind of our stretch goals. So that ensures that we're at least hitting the lowest number that we hit that previous year. And then we work from there.
Aside from improving conversion, like you were saying before, is it then just a numbers game? Is it like a volume issue? Or how do you try and recreate those best performing months that you had the prior year?
Yeah, that's so good. There's so many factors and so many KPIs that can be involved depending on the company. So I would try to identify what did we do differently this month and get the sales team involved too in figuring this out, right? The COO doesn't have to be the one trying to figure out what happened. Get the sales team involved. Let's brainstorm. Okay, what did we do differently this month? Maybe we found that we just had an inflow of new leads from a speaking engagement that the founder did. Okay, that's a good opportunity. And maybe you'll start to identify areas on a lead flow perspective or on a sales perspective that you all weren't thinking about before. So I think having the conversation with the sales team to reflect on what went great and what were we doing differently is super helpful. And you don't have to wait till the end of the year to do this, right? You could do this quarterly, which we encourage all of our clients to do. And then you repeat successful actions. That is a big theme at Pima. Repeat successful actions. Repeat what is working. So you may identify that it's just increased lead flow that you need. Or you may identify that it's a sales conversion issue. Maybe your top performer was doing amazing that month. And then this month, like their sales close rate is down. So you'll be able to identify where the gap is in your process.
Cindy, you are such a wealth of information. And Pima.io is such a fast-growing company. Inc. 5000, but you were in the 500s, 40th in your industry. So tell us about your background. Like how did you become this expert in lead gen?
Yeah, so my background is very unconventional. I always thought I was going to climb the corporate ladder, and it just did not end up that way. So I am originally from Johannesburg, South Africa. My parents are from Congo. I moved to the US in 2014. I again thought I was going to climb the corporate ladder, so I got a job in asset and wealth management right after college. And then that wasn't where I wanted to land. I was good at the work, but didn't enjoy it. So I transitioned, I pivoted into career and executive coaching. So I did that for a few years. Come 2020, we were all in like the height of the pandemic. And Tim and I, at like our lowest point with just revenue and business, we decided to build something together. And it was really out of survival, out of needing a source of income. And we identified, I mean, I saw this in my own career coaching company where lead flow was the issue, right? I had clients coming in and there were referrals, but when I didn't have that at the height of the pandemic, like I didn't have a business. So we identified the need for lead gen, and my husband and business partner, Tim, had been in the marketing space for a long time as well. So we just partnered up and decided to build this together. We have very complementary skills. And so it's been both a journey of learning and collaboration and growth, but we've also made a lot of pivots in the journey. And so I always encourage people, when you know it's time to pivot, pivot. And I know that that's your story too, Megan. I've learned more about you. You've also done that throughout your career. And that's a testament to where you are now. It's like the power of a pivot.
Amen. That is so true. And I'm curious also because something that we run into with our members as well are husband wife or romantic partner duos that are in that CEO COO seat. So is there a secret that you have found to making this work?
No, there's no secret. I wish there was a magic bullet, but there is not. I always say I don't recommend it because I think it's not for everyone. But when you get a duo that works and it works, it's great. I think we work so well because we have very complementary skills, but we also have a lot of alignment in a lot of areas. So I'm very operational. I am COO, but I have a lot of visionary tendencies too. But I'm definitely more operational than my husband is. He's he leans towards visionary. Like he can do operations, but like his strengths are more so on the visionary side. So those complementary skills, I think, just allow us to work very well as visionary integrator or integrator visionary.
Prevents friction as much as possible.
It does, absolutely.
Which I love hearing you say that you wouldn't recommend it, but when it works, it really works because
That's true.
even like hearing, oh, we don't shut it off. We don't have a firewall. It's basically in the office and then at home. Like it's never ending. So you have to really love what you do when you partner up like that.
Yes, there has to be a lot of alignment to make it work for sure.
Absolutely. So we are also so lucky to have you leading an expert session for our Second First membership. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I'm so excited about that session for sure. So we're talking actually a lot about what we discussed in this episode, which I'm so excited about. So I get to dive in a little bit deeper on these topics. But we're talking all things prospecting and sales strategy, when to hire, who to hire, should you be leaning towards a business development rep, a sales development rep, a hunter closer, should you be outsourcing your lead gen? I mean, all the questions with regards to vendors, partners, and employees with regards to your marketing and sales process. We'll look at the pros and cons, and I'll dive into how do you make the best decision for your growth in 2025 and beyond.
I'm so excited for that because I think it tends to be what you're used to or what you're familiar with that you bring into the organization as a leader. Like I was always used to, hunters, like BDMs that were just out there prospecting, closing it, throwing it over to onboarding, and then hunting again. And working with even like one-on-one coaching clients, that is so not the right answer for a lot of other businesses
Yes.
that need more positions in place than just that one rainmaker. So I am excited to hear what maybe some of those answers are even for second first.
For sure. For sure.
So you also have a podcast that you do with your husband that you mentioned. And so how can they either listen to that? How can they get in touch with you? What are the best ways for someone to reach you?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for that. So our podcast is called The Takeover with Tim and
It's
Cindy.
so good. It is such a good podcast. You have to listen to it.
Yes, we talk all things how to dominate your market, marketing and sales. So definitely tune in. And you can find me, Cindy Dodd, on all social platforms. I'm really active on LinkedIn, as well as Instagram and YouTube. And I always say we give out more free content than our competitors charge money for. So anywhere you find myself or my husband, Tim, you'll see there's a lot of free value.
I just feel like every episode of your podcast is just a masterclass in business development that I'm like, I actually can't believe that you guys just do this for free.
Yes,
So
we give out
absolutely.
a lot. We give out a lot for sure. And I have, speaking of free, I have 2 free resources for your audience. So all the goodies. One is our free Outbound sales playbook. So there we lay out how to do direct outreach, what are the KPIs you should be looking at, sales team hiring, all the things. So I'll send that to you, Megan, so that you can send it over to your audience. And the second one is my free LinkedIn guide. So if you are not on LinkedIn and active on LinkedIn this year, like you are going to be left behind. So I want to make sure that you are both active on the platform and that you're utilizing it to just the maximum capacity because there's so much opportunity on LinkedIn. So I want you to find me on LinkedIn, Cindy Dodd, send me a message and tell me that you found me through the Second First podcast, and I'll send you over my free LinkedIn guide.
Amazing. Okay, we will link all of that in the show notes so they can find you very easily. Cindy, thank you so much. You're amazing. I just think the world of you, and I'm so excited for our listeners and members to keep learning from you.
Thank you, Megan. I appreciate it so much. Thank you for having me. And I'm so excited to dive deeper with your members and your audience next week.
To find show notes and links for anything mentioned in this episode, visit secondfirst.com/49. Be sure to subscribe to catch future episodes and leave us a review on whatever platform you're listening on. Remember, you don't have to navigate being a second in command alone when you have the right hand roadmap.